Doak Turner has done lots of stuff, and he talks about it in his autobiography titled A Crazy Journey and Finding My True Identity. Doak was born in West Virginia, where he got to start in radio, sales, and marketing. He continued his radio career in Charlotte, North Carolina in the 80s. In Charlotte, Doak found other opportunities, including in sports marketing for tennis, arena football, and NASCAR. He later moved to Nashville in 2002, where he became a leader in the songwriting community. He now lives back in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. Welcome, Doak Turner.
Well, thank you, Tim. It's a pleasure to be here.
Good. How are you doing, man?
Fantastic. A beautiful day on Lake Norman, North Carolina, about 25 miles north of Charlotte.
In your book, which I've read, like I told you, I've read part of it, you mentioned that there's a question that you like to ask first of all the music people you encounter. Do you remember what that question is?
Tim, if I was interviewing you, I would ask, Tim, what is your earliest memory of hearing music and saying, I got to do that? Whatever it is, I got to do that.
All right, and I'm going to answer that. It was December 25th, 1969, Christmas Day, when I went to see the movie Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and the music by Burt Bacharach
Yeah.
just blew me away. And it was also the very first day I got my first drum on that day. And I've played drums ever since then. So we're going to put the question right back at you.
Good deal. My earliest memories were in the 60s. I was born in 59. Just hearing a few songs that just really got to me. Stevie Winwood singing Give Me Some of Lovin'. Those kinds of songs. Summer in the City. The earliest memories. Then I remember hearing Bill Anderson on my great grandparents' radio singing a great song Still.
Sure.
And some of those are my earliest memories. And I remember Mom and I driving around in the car at times, listening to the local top 40 radio and singing along some of the songs, Oh Happy Day, Edwin Hawkins singers, just both of us just singing that, or and a song that Mom and I sang right up until she passed away with I Love You More Today Than Yesterday, but not as much as tomorrow.
Sure.
So those kinds of songs. And then, it evolved into going to see Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons in the 60s when I was 6 or 7 years old. And later start going to see Chicago in 74. All of that just got to me. And I just loved music.
And your love of music led you to a career in radio.
It did. Actually, Donna Summer changed my life. It's hard to
Donna
believe.
Summer.
Absolutely. In the early 80s, about 82, I started reading positive thinking books, Think and Grow Rich, Magic of Thinking Big, See You at the Top. Some of those books that changed my life, that got me energized about, okay, you set goals and so forth. I didn't know what I wanted to do. But Jerry Golf, my stepdad, gave me some advice when I graduated high school in 77. And he said, he took his hand, he did this. Said, Doak, you don't have to have it figured out. Just go start here, go there, go here, try this. When you get up here, what you learned here and here is going to help you.
Yeah.
So just take the pressure off. Just try a lot of things. And I tried architecture. I was a manufacturer's rep. And, one thing led to another. Till I'm listening back in Charleston, West Virginia, we had an AC station at 100, a rock station at 105. And on that early September day, I'm changing the dial going across. Right in the middle, I hear Donna Summer singing Finger on the Trigger, and I start dancing along. Hey, there's a cool disco station. At the end of that song, we're a new radio station and we're looking for salespeople. So I wrote that number down. I had to go to Jerry's office. He was an architect. I had to go to his office. They're listening to the AM station, Al Ham's Music If You Like format. And he said, hey, there's a radio station looking for a salesperson. You ought to call them. I said, okay, God, I got your message in 15 minutes. And I called and I went. And the next day I had an appointment with the sales manager. I'm listening to him. And at the end of that sort of interview, I just looked at him and said, so do I start next Monday or Tuesday? And he kind of laughed. That's the only close I knew from all those books and tapes.
Uh,
So he said, well, you need to meet the general manager tomorrow. Is that tomorrow morning or afternoon you want me up here? And guess what? About the next week, I started my radio sales career, brand new radio station, top 40, September 20th, 1982.
Wow.
And one of the first things I asked him, I said, okay, I want to call on the civic centers in Charleston and Huntington. I want to call on the promoters. I want to learn how to do that. And that changed my life, Tim.
Yeah.
The station started to grow. I started building relationships with concert promoters, learning that business. The next sales manager that came along taught me, said, Doak, you just want these promoters out there to think Charleston, Super 102, Doak Turner. Somehow just get them to be thinking. So you get called every time. Then I
Right.
built relationships with the people at the different civic centers, and the agency at the Huntington Civic Center became my friend. And, I just built that relationship with them, took them to lunch, got to know them. And whenever I needed hey, I would hear concerts coming, or sometimes they would call me. And here's
Yeah.
the promoter.
Yeah.
So I just built in those relationships.
And
You get calls.
there's lots of stories in your book about these concerts and encounters you've had with artists and other people in the industry. And you mentioned Chicago as one of your favorite acts. Did you ever encounter those guys?
I was so blessed. I saw them in 74 when I was in the ninth grade, and every album I loved, every Chicago album. So years later in Nashville, the Musicians Hall of Fame, which I recommend everyone in the music business go visit.
Right.
Um, Danny Serafine, the drummer, came in and did a drum clinic one Saturday. I was invited to go. I met Danny, thanked him for the music. Years later, I was working with with another company that brought these like exclusive. You had to join a club to get to know them. You had to join a club for these intimate concerts. And so I helped them. I sold memberships and helped them. Well, Chicago came and I asked for a favor. I said, can I go back for a meet and greet? They're my favorite band. And so guess what? I got to go thank the guys for and get a quick picture. And I was just extremely happy. I was blessed the happiest times of my life, 1982 to 91. Now, 89, I was kind of burnt out. I took off the summer of 89. I just needed to get it completely away from it. I got away from it for a year, got back into radio sales in Charlotte in 90 and 91. And then in 91, at September 20th, ironically, 9 years to the day I started, radio changed. Up until that day, you could have 7 AM, 7 FM, 7 TV stations in the country, and,
Right. Yeah.
and, and only one per market. I worked with
Yes.
Beasley Broadcast, my entire broadcast
Yeah.
life back then. I moved into my dream condo that morning on Lake Norman, and I got a call. I needed to go to a meeting, and about 2 o'clock we had a meeting, and about 90% of the staff was fired. But I'm so blessed for all the experiences, and that was my foundation to the music industry, to learning to work with concert promoters, getting to know a lot of the bands and becoming friends with a lot of those musicians.
All right. So when did the songwriting bug hit you?
The summer of 89, as I mentioned, I took off. I was burnt out from radio sales.
Yeah.
And I'd saved a little nest egg. I said, I just got to get away. My brother up in West Virginia had a little cheap guitar. For some reason, I brought it down. I started strumming a little bit. All these words started coming to me. So I just started writing lyrics. Oh, I'm going to be the next Bernie Taupin. I just need to find somebody that can play and sing.
Yeah.
And I started writing lyrics and just kept writing. And then in 19 early, very early 1996, I was working in the NASCAR radio business for a company called NASCAR Country. I syndicated that show, and I would come to Country Radio Seminar in Nashville.
Yeah.
And I got there about a day or two early, sold some sponsorships for the network. Driving down 17th, I believe it was, there was Nashville Songwriters. Like, I don't know what that is, but I went around the block and went upstairs, and I said, got to know what they were about. I said, well, we have local workshops. I said, well, do you have one in Charlotte? So I started the Nashville Songwriters Association International workshop in Charlotte in 1996 in April, and started getting people to our meeting. And of course, the workshops, they gave us what to do. And I had workshops in Nashville to go and learn. Pitch songs, did that for 6 years, and it was time to move to Nashville.
And you had a guest songwriter at the Charlotte NSA meeting, or who you eventually wrote with, right?
Yes, I was blessed to get to know Byron Hill, big time hit writer, Foolhardy Memory. He's in the Songwriters Hall of Fame, 6 number ones, 600 cuts. But he came to town. They had a mentoring group, a group of writers in Nashville and publishers that if they were from an area, they would come and mentor workshops. Byron and I had dinner. He came to a meeting at NSAI. We just developed a friendship. He said, Doak, when you come to Nashville next time, give me a call in advance. Maybe we'll write a song. So I took a bunch of my ideas and lyrics and we started writing. We wrote a couple songs.
Good deal.
And so I had a mentor to help me out, and we're still best friends. We just talked on the phone on Saturday.
And while in Nashville, you started several things, including Nashville Muse. So tell us about that.
Well, I moved in 2002 in October. I was blessed to move into a home over in Westmead, 701 Brook Hollow Road. It's seared in my brain and in my heart. A gentleman by the name of Stephen McClintock, owned the house with his business partner Tim James. They lived in LA. I was asked to be a roommate of Gary Talley. Gary played with the Box Tops and taught guitar. Well, I'd met Gary in Nashville and invited him to come to Charlotte to do a guitar workshop, and that was very successful for him. That January, I went to California to teach a workshop in San Diego. While I was out there, I had dinner in Orange County, and a gentleman at the dinner at a house of the NSAI group out there said, "Doak, do what I do." So what's that? I said, send an email out and let everybody know and ask people where they're playing, come back and compile it. And then every Monday you send it out, let everybody know where everybody's playing. That
Yeah,
became the Nashville Muse.
I got that email every Monday.
There you go. But sometime that December, a friend of Gary's stopped by. He lived in New York. He said, every now and then I'll have a bunch of people come to my house. I'll fix spaghetti and they play songs. Well, that's about the time I'm thinking, man, I miss Sunday dinners. I miss Sunday dinner with friends. So I'd invited some people to come over right before Christmas. One Saturday night, we were all new to town. People I'd met going out to songwriter nights, about 30 of us. So I got everybody's address. So when I went to California in January, came up with that idea to compile the email list. And in March, I sent out an invite with an early version of Nashville Muse, invited people to come to my house. That happened to be a third Sunday. I said, we'll do it at 3 o'clock. Everybody bring something. It was a covered dish. And for the next 112 months, Tim, that's right, 10 years, the third Sunday at 3, it started with about 30 or 50 people. Then it became 100 people on the average. That was in March. In April, you had Tin Pan South. And with Tin Pan South, last all week songwriters week for watch 10 shows a night that are happening all over town. That ends on Saturday. I said, well, that Sunday, I'll go get some 50 pounds of barbecue, and I'll call it a guitar barbecue. Invite people to come over. About 150 people show up.
Yeah.
And we have a barbecue. And from there, I did that for 7 years, up to 650 people would show up to that one. So got to get known in the community. A lot of people met there. A lot of successes came from those people.
So how long were you in Nashville?
I lived in Nashville from 2000, October 15, 2002, until the end of December 2017.
Okay.
But through that, I had the Nashville Muse, and then I also had a business called Music Starts Here.
Yeah.
And the videos are still on YouTube. YouTube Music Starts Here. And that lasted, I was there to 2017. Then I made trips back and forth hosting events for Music Starts Here up until early 2020.
But you eventually moved back to the Charlotte area. And
Yeah,
from what I gather, you felt defeated in some ways.
I did, Tim. I was blessed to have about a dozen songs covered by artists, independent artists, things like that. I've had an incredible adventure, hundreds and hundreds of events, award shows. I worked the CMA Awards. I worked the CMT Awards, special tapings with the audience company. I've had incredible, got to write with my heroes, built a lot of friends and acquaintances. And I came back, I'm like, you know what? I didn't get that big hit song. I didn't get those hit songs that I went for.
Sure.
And I felt like, Tim, I felt like a failure. I didn't get it. But why not? I worked hard, but so have everybody else. Again, I had, songs on the radio, songs on Sirius XM, things like that. I
Yeah.
just didn't get that big one. I felt like a failure. Like I failed my family, my friends, all of those that believed in me. Great woman here in Charlotte. I didn't get that I didn't get those big hit songs that I went for. I
Right.
felt like a failure. And then Kathy, my awesome woman, gave me a book. It's called Your Beloved by Bobby Schuller. His grandpa had a big influence on me, Robert Schuller, positive thinking,
Oh,
being
sure.
a minister.
Yeah.
So I read Bobby's book, and it had this thing called identity statement. And it saved me, it changed my life. It kept me going. That identity statement says, I'm not what I do, I'm not what I have, I'm not what others say about me. I am a beloved child of God. I will not hurry, I will not worry. And after reading the book and reading that statement every day, Tim, I finally realized the songwriting, our job, my career, all of my life, my ups, my downs, how I felt about myself, from being salesperson of the year in radio many times to meeting my greatest, the people I loved watching and hearing and building these relationships, incredible experiences, going through life, going up, going down, having fun jobs in NASCAR, wrestling, sports, to go up high, I'm doing this, that's me, to getting fired, to having fun again with something else. I finally realized that's what I do. It's not who I am. And that's just stuff that we do. And I think a lot of us creators, Tim, struggle with that challenge.
Yes, absolutely. And you eventually wrote your own book.
I did early 2020, and I remember saying it for years. You know what? I ought to just write a book just so my nieces and nephews or somebody may care about what Doak did in life. And plus, I had all of these stories up here in my head.
Yeah.
The best therapy was the year 2020, sitting down about every day and just typing these stories. I have like a museum, I called it, in my garage, of all of my concert tickets, all the posters, autographs, stories, and I have the spaghetti brain. We all have a spaghetti brain. One thing links to another.
Yeah.
And with that, every concert brought back a memory.
Yeah.
And the backstage passes. I
Right.
kept all of those through the years. They all had a story.
Right.
So I
Well,
just typed unedited.
I will say that I've read part of your book now, and it's basically a bunch of several vignettes, and you do a takeaway at the end of each one. It's kind of inspiring. I wasn't really expecting that, but it is.
Thank you. After I wrote, I typed 176,000 edited, but how can I make this positive? How can I inspire? It's not just, hey, look at what Doak did.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how did I get to do it? Here's a takeaway. I built relationships. I took chances. To build the relationships to get to do this stuff, I did my testimony, like I sort of described.
Yeah.
And then bonus stories.
Tell us the Paul McCartney story.
2013, I believe it was. I'm at a birthday party, and Suzanne Fearing comes up to me. She had worked with LIPA, Liverpool Institute Performing Arts, knew Paul and all of that. She said, Doak, I need your help. So I need to find 30 people that will pay $2,500 to go to Bonnaroo to see and meet Paul McCartney. I said, okay, well, I have my Nashville Muse list. I send it out every Monday. I tell you what, I'll promote it for you. If it works, I want to go with you. But my goal is to make you a hero, Suzanne. So I sent an email out inviting, I called a special delivery, invited everyone. She calls me that afternoon, says, you're so going, we're like sold out. We go get to Bonnaroo. We have a special tent for us. Paul comes in, and me and Suzanne take turns walking people up there, and Suzanne introduces them to Paul. At the end, we did an incredible group photo. And the bonus was, I'm thinking, I don't want to get out there in the middle of 80,000 people. We didn't have to. We went up the side of the stage, up on a balcony, and watched Paul McCartney from the balcony on the stage. But how do you get to do that? My goal was to help someone. By helping Suzanne, I was blessed to meet Paul McCartney.
I just want to say thank you for doing this. How do people get to you?
Okay, the website is a crazyjourneybook.com. Feel free to reach out, and that information is on my website. And I really hope the book helps you to keep going and to know your identity is not your job. That's what you do. And that's the main thing. What you are and what I am, what you are is a beloved child of God. And I thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Doak.